Welcome back to Shapiro Capital TV. I have an absolutely incredible guest here. He is a Section 8 guru. His name is Eric Spotford. But before I even ask him a question, I would like everybody to know that when I am wrong, and I'm fucking wrong, I actually admit it. I called him out on his program and his system. And I realized that based on what he does, he has a very unique service and he caters to certain people in a certain way. And I was wrong. And I said some things that were uncalled for. And I'm sorry. I can admit when I'm wrong, and I'm wrong a lot.
So am I, and I share the same feature, so I find myself apologizing frequently.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not one of those guys that is, what is it? Just do it and then ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
I thought I was right, and I was wrong, guys. And I apologize. But, Eric, thank you for coming in.
Absolutely. Water under the bridge. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So
let's get it.
Tell us, what are you wearing on your wrist today? It's a fancy watch.
Oh, man. This just, guys, this is the stupid shit that you buy after you sell a company for too much money. And, so it's a Richard Mille. And I bought it it's honestly, I wear it because I own it. And I forget most days what it even is or what it means to people. But, I sold a company, had a ton of money. The market was crazy. This is when Rolls Royces were going for over sticker, and so I paid like $390 for it, and it's probably worth $250 today.
It's an 11. It's an RM11.
What is this? It's
11 flyback.
RM3501 Rafael Nadal.
Yeah.
And so
it's
whatever.
No,
it's
holding. It's a Rafa. It's holding its value.
Yeah.
So
here's what
but
it is.
it's funny. You sold a company for stupid money.
Yeah.
What made you move to Miami?
I reversed that question, and it's like I don't know why everyone doesn't live in Miami.
Fuck yeah.
Why wouldn't I move to Miami? I mean, listen, I lived in New Hampshire for 36 years, just north of Boston, like 40 minutes outside of the city. Real small environment, right? State of New Hampshire, I think, has like 1.2 or 1.1 million people, men, women, and children that live there. So real small.
What is it, the Green State? What is it?
The Granite State.
The Granite State.
Named after a rock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd much rather be at the Sunshine State. The skies are gray 9 months out of the year. You don't see the sun a lot. It gets cold. It gets real cold. It gets dark. There's not like this vibrant spirit of entrepreneurship and creator and networking, and the viewpoint on success is very different up there. The great New England, Boston area, they want to see you do well, but don't do too well. Because then they'll come for you, Mark. I don't know if you know that or not, but if you do too well, they'll come for you.
I know.
And so it got to this point where, and I was young, dumb, and ignorant at the time, but I was driving supercars. I had a giant house. I got a helicopter. I was driving a helicopter to work every day. Before I even had Instagram, I was doing all this crazy shit. And I got a lot of attention, and, some people loved me, and some people were opinionated about it. And there was just a lot of reasons. And then I came down here. I bought a second home here. That's how it started for me. And I've seen it happen like this for so many people. And so I'd come down, and I'd spend some time, and I'd be by the beach, and meeting people, and everything's alive, and everyone's moving around, and everyone's, and then I would go home and be like, what the fuck?
And it's gray, and the freaking sky's gray.
Oh, dude, my vibration
and
would be up here,
pissed.
and I would get off the plane, and everyone's in a bad mood, and everyone's negative, and gossiping, and talking about other people, and just like, it would just like drag my vibration down to here, and I would just be sitting there crossing days, waiting until I was going back to my place in Florida. And the more that I did that, I would be down here and I'd be like, I don't want to leave. And I'd go back up there and be like, what the fuck am I doing here? And so eventually it just kind of flopped. And now I live here and visit there instead of living there and visiting here. It's just the lifestyle, man. Like Miami I think historically has had a bad rap of being like this party city and South Beach and the clubs and all this crazy stuff. That's not my experience. I've been sober for 18 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Probably my proudest achievement. I'm a dialed in entrepreneur. I don't like to stay up late. But there's so many people just like me, just like you, that are here building, creating, networking. And it's just hard to not be in that winning energy in Miami. But at the same time, it takes a lot of discipline, I think, because I've seen a lot of people come down here and get lost in the sauce and get caught up in the booze, the drugs, the girls, the laziness. You know what I mean? It's easy to fuck off here at the same time. So you got to have like a solid core of discipline. But for me, because I do, it's been an amazing experience, and I could not at this point imagine living anywhere else.
How long ago did you move?
4 years this month, actually.
4 years.
Yeah.
So
The crazy thing is,
I'm
now
from New England. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that.
I was born and raised in Connecticut.
Okay.
My mother's
I don't
whole
know why I thought
family
you were
is
from
from
New York.
here, is from Coral Gables.
Yep.
So I moved here in '88 when I got married, bought a house on East San Marino, knocked it down,
Yep.
built a new house.
I had a house. My last house was on San Marino.
I got divorced, and that was one of the hardest decisions
Yeah.
to leave my children for my own mental health. And their mom, she moved back to Connecticut. We had never sold our home in Connecticut. And so I know growing up in New England, but every opportunity, my mother was on the old Eastern Airlines, and we're down here.
Yep.
And we bought our first deal, or I bought my first deal here, south of 5th, in '86. And it was all by a fluke because my uncles had a deal on Collins, a deal on 11th, the All-Star Cafe, and on Ocean, and then a site on 5th and Ocean right next to the Bentley, which I eventually built, the 524 there, the Mare Grande. And I was doing so well here from our apartment business, I said to my wife, I said, look, I have to be here. We moved down here, and bro, it was like the wild, wild west when I first got here.
I bet.
And you could buy anything. It's as creative as you can imagine. This is back when, from the early 90s to the late 90s was when this kid, Chris Pacello, came down here and opened up Liquid. First he opened up a club called Risk. Then he opened up a bigger club called Liquid. And Miami went insane. And it was all celebrities. And we don't see as many celebrities around here anymore. And it is, I used to tell all my friends, you gotta come here. There's no state income tax. There's the homestead laws. And the streets are literally paved with gold. All you gotta do is be willing to work.
Yep.
And if you grind and you work, you can achieve anything. And obviously,
Absolutely.
you were extremely successful there. And now you've recreated that success here and an amazing lifestyle. So
Yeah, man. I love it here. I love it. So
you work out at Elevation. That's where I saw you last.
I work out at it. Yeah, my routine is super simple. And, I wear the same black T-shirt that's $17 every day for the most part. I wake up.
But the arms are big. You're jacked.
Work on that. But, yeah, and I eat breakfast, pray, spend time with my kids, spend a little time with God, get at work, set the day up, get all the companies and everything I'm doing moving in the right direction. And then I'm at Elevation training the body.
Mm-hmm.
And, normally about mid-morning, then I go back to work and run the rest of the day and spend the evening with my people.
Well, why are so many people that are super successful grounded with God? Were you always religious?
No, and I don't know how much we've been able to connect on kind of my background. I mean, I found
Tell
God.
us.
I found God in a closet in a trap house on the third floor of a apartment building at the end of almost a 7-year run of heroin addiction. After I just committed an armed robbery and I was waiting for the cops to kick the door in, I thought I was going to prison for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And no, I didn't grow up with God. I didn't grow up religious. It wasn't, a topic of conversation in my household growing up. Grew up pretty, you know, okay, but kind of rough. And the Oxford group, this religious movement that Alcoholics Anonymous, which I got sober in, was based out of, has a beautiful saying that says, "Man's tragedy is God's opportunity." And that was that moment for me. And that was December 7th of 2006. And
Wow.
so that was really the first prayer I'd ever said. And I got on my knees in a closet about middle of the night and, just said a prayer. I was like, God, I don't know what to do. I need some help. And I asked God for help. And I woke up the next morning, went on the run, and started detoxing. And I've been sober of mind altering substances since that day. And that was 18 years ago.
Wow.
This last December was 18. Yeah.
And
And
God
so,
will never fail you. Never,
no, man,
ever.
you know what? It's funny. It's interesting. I think like the human experience, my human experience, I guess, and I've seen it happen with a lot of other people. I don't know if it's everybody, but it's like, here's the path and here's God's will and here's what God would have you do and have you be and like in true alignment with that. And I think as human beings, the selfishness, the self-centeredness, the sinner in us, whatever you want to call it, brings us off that path. And very quickly, every time I've gotten off that path, I find pain, doubt, fear, anxiety, worry, trouble, conflict, all these things. And those things are normally the motivator that push me back to getting right with God, you know?
Well,
And I think that like when you ask the question about like why, I just processing this a little bit about why do all successful people, grounded in a relationship with God or some sort of faith, it's like, well, because fucking God will do a million times more with your life than you could ever do on your own,
yeah. Well said.
you know? And so, of
Yeah.
course, like the people doing the biggest things are being used by God in God's work. That's how they got there. Maybe arguably one of the only ways to get there and stay there,
You're getting,
you know?
yeah. It's so incredibly inspiring what you're saying, because we have in behind me we have a bunch of religious books that I've studied and I study. And when my career became super successful, it was when I started to devote more of my time to God, to Hashem. That's what we call him in Hebrew. And I got very close with the religious guys that wore black suits, white shirts. And I went from here to here. And one of my other friends, his name is Alan. His last name is Lazowski, and his father was Rabbi Lazowski. He called me one night and he said, look, he goes, I need you to park cars for me. I'm working at a bank as a commercial loan officer in Suffield, Connecticut. And I said, I'm still at the bank. And I said, I don't know how to park cars. He goes, no. There's a vest, okay? There's tickets. You just take the car, you give him half the ticket, you put it on the board, and then you park the car, and then you charge them $3, okay? The restaurant was Pancho McGee's. I'll never forget this. The name of his company today is Laz Parking, Alan Lazowski. He's one of my closest friends. I think you'll probably see his parking all over the place. And I had this experience. Then I got married, and my wife wasn't real religious, and she pulled me away from them. And business was still successful, but I was really troubled. I really had true turmoil until eventually I ended up getting divorced in 2000. And I got back to being, we pray 3 times a day. We try to pray together. I turn my phone off on Friday night until Saturday night. And, like I'm trying to figure out from Albert's event where I'm going to go to Temple on Friday night and where I'm going to be able to go Saturday morning before I go and speak, but I still won't turn my phone on. So every step of the way, God walks with you, and when you can't walk, he carries you.
Ain't that the truth?
So, and I think if more people realize that a solid work ethic and believing that their life can be better, they can have a better life.
Yeah. I mean, the work ethic alone, like we're meant to work, we're meant to build, we're meant to create. And I don't think God really favors lazy people,
No,
you know?
no.
And so, especially when you have like when you're inspired by God and when you're inspired by like this spiritual flame inside of you, it's hard to sit still. You talked about turning your phone off. I bet that's probably one of the hardest things you do all week
Bro,
long.
that is hard.
It gives me anxiety to think
and
about.
And if I turn it on
take
early,
24 hours.
who's the first person that's like saying,
Yeah,
him? He gives me a rash of shit.
yeah, you know?
Even my little 14-year-old stepdaughter, last week at 7 o'clock, her mom was cooking for a dinner party, and I opened up my iPad, and she's like, "What are you doing? You breaking Shabbos?" I'm like, No, we're going to say the prayer, and Shabbos is over, shortly. She's like, I'm like, okay, I'm all right.
That's
okay.
cool.
Yeah. So, why real estate?
I mean, I've been in real estate for a long time now, like yourself, but it honestly hasn't been my main business and still really isn't. After I got sober, I said that prayer in the closet and woke up the next morning not realizing that my life had changed forever. And one day at a time from there forward, I established myself in recovery from addiction and alcoholism.
That was not an easy thing, was it?
No, man. I mean, I had a screaming heroin habit amongst other things. I had to detox from it, spiritually, emotionally. You're all fucked up. You got to do a ton of work to get straightened out, really get realigned with the person that you want to be, that God made you to be, or wants you to be, I should say. Because that life, it's the substances, but it's also the life that comes with it brings you so far away from alignment with, the truth. But and so I did all of that, and then I got very passionate. I was young, man. I got sober. I was almost 22 years old. And so I got very passionate, though, through that experience of coming to know God early on in my sobriety. And when God shows up, and it's undeniable, and you cannot mistake it for what it is. And that's what happened for me. God showed up, and he lit a fire inside of me. And I just wanted to help other people. I wanted to talk to other people that had addiction. And so I was living in this shithole apartment. I didn't even have a driver's license. And I was going to this state-funded rehab facility that had all these addicts and alcoholics that were trying to get sober. And I would just go down there and hang out and talk to them and try to help them and show them the stuff that I had done in recovery that worked for me to get sober. And in that was the idea, as I was looking at these people, because they'd only stay there 30 days, I was like, they don't have anywhere to go. And so I got like this message of like, I need to start a sober house. And this is like, you probably know what a sober house is, right?
I do. I actually.
But 18 years ago, not a lot of people knew.
No.
It was not popular. This is before
Well,
addiction
actually in the Boston area,
Yeah.
it was kind of starting. Did you ever hear of a lawyer named Marty Lippo?
No.
Randolph guy, just one of the better mob lawyers out of Boston, and I was actually very close to him. And I became close with his sons, and one of his sons, Andrew, who eventually OD'd, he started a sober house in Stoughton, Mass.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I started.
and it was a moneymaker, big moneymaker.
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was my first bite at real estate. Was I bought a foreclosed 3-family property in
Love it.
Derry, New Hampshire. 23-year-old kid, fucking was living in the hood at the time. Put the money together, got the deal, bought it for $150,000. October 2008. The world is melting. The financial crisis and real estate and all this shit. I had no idea what that even meant at the time. And
That
so
was a good thing.
Yeah, and so that was my first real estate deal. And so what happened was I started to build this addiction treatment business. I had an 11-bed sober living facility over the next 13 years, one brick at a time, I built that to be the largest provider of addiction treatment services in all of New England.
Wow.
So we had 440 treatment beds amongst a
That's
bunch
a
of
lot.
different, and a lot. 325 employees. We did about 55 million a year top line. So I eventually sold it in December of 2021 for a big number. And in that, I started buying the underlying real estate assets to develop them into the facilities. And so I owned all the apartment buildings for sober living, the healthcare facilities for detox and rehab, and the office building for the corporate headquarters, and I did all that. And then on the side, I started investing in apartments and also doing a fair amount of building. So I'd buy land, and that was kind of like my little fun side project. And I would design it with the civil engineers and architects and go in front of the planning board. And so we built a lot of townhouse projects, some mixed use, some apartments up there in New Hampshire. And that was my first go at real estate. But the Section 8 thing, even though that's how we connected, that's one of my businesses, and I enjoy it, and we do a lot. But I sold that addiction treatment business, and today I've already started another one. I've been out of that business for a little more than three years. I've been out of that business for 3 years, 3 months, and we kicked off the one that I'm currently running 2 years, 3 months ago. So I was down and out for a year before I started.
You went back in because it's such a profitable business.
Lots of businesses are profitable. That one,
And it does a lot.
It does a lot. I spent 13, 14 years doing it, and it's hard to recreate the institutional knowledge that you get by doing something for more than a decade every day, right? And it's like I couldn't go open a fucking restaurant. I don't know anything about restaurants or whatever type of business, right? And so now I'm the CEO of Treatment X, which is a business that I founded and wholly own, which we have facilities today in Ohio, California, and Pennsylvania. And we have about 200, a little more than 200 treatment beds across all three sites, and head counts almost 200 people.
Wow.
And then the Section 8 deal, what happened was I sold the business for $115 million on December 21st of 2021. And if you remember, back then, like 2021, interest rates are low, crypto is high, people are running around selling those stupid NFTs, pictures of apes for $500,000 and all this crazy shit.
I still didn't understand it.
I never did. I told them all they were idiots then, and I haven't heard from those NFT guys in a while.
They're still idiots.
Yeah, they're still idiots.
Yeah.
Now they're broke idiots. But
that happens.
And so I got all the capital, and I was sitting there and looking at the market, longest bull run in American history. I'm sitting on a ton of cash. I got J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and all the other institutions coming through the front door saying, we need to get this money to work. We need to get into the stock market. We need to, they want to feed me to death and put the money out there.
Yeah.
I tell them, I said, go kick rocks. I'm not doing any of that. And then I just sit on it through the holidays, and then 22 a little bit, and I'm relaxing. And then you think about what happens at 22, the world starts to go to shit.
Yep.
Interest rates start to skyrocket. And if you remember, which I know you do, at the time that's happening, everyone's sitting around, and what's the conversation based off of our historical experience, pattern recognition? Interest rates are coming up. We expect real estate prices to come down. A lot of people were talking about, a correction in the market, there's going to be an opportunity to buy. And so I'm sitting on all this powder looking, going, fucking when?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the apartment buildings, and I'm looking at everything, and nothing
makes any sense.
And all of a sudden, you have, in the first time that I'm aware of in American history, is you have real estate prices are at an all-time high. Interest rates start to come up. So the cost of capital is rising. We're expecting it to offset to keep the deals to make sense. It must put downward pressure on value, on pricing.
Of course.
And pricing doesn't fucking move. And so the interest rates come up here, and it turns these projects into, all of a sudden, real estate investors, you start hearing these, in my opinion, and not that I'm right, it's to each their own, their investment thesis. But in my opinion, these dumbass conversations about like buying real estate solely for appreciation, and I'm like, I want fucking cash flow, dude. I just sold a company that used to pay me $1 million a month, rain, snow, sleet, sunshine, doesn't matter. I got $250 a week. I sold it off at $13 million TTM EBITDA, and now I don't have any cash flow.
Most people don't know what you just said, so if you want to explain it to them. So,
$13 million TTM, which is trailing 12 months, so the 12 months prior to it, and EBITDA is
earnings.
It's earnings. It's earnings before taxes, interest, depreciation, amortization, and it's the accounting
Guys,
formula.
you know that he's actually a real businessman, okay? Just because he's jacked and he's tatted and he's sober for 18 years. This is what businesses are all based on numbers and data,
100%.
okay? There's no lucky this. There's no lucky that. There's understanding what to do, and you guys never know who you're going to meet when you meet somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, and never prejudge somebody.
Yeah.
So, and after I realized I was wrong, I started to follow you, and I went through some of your videos, and I'm like, fuck, this is good shit.
So many people, and one of the things I respect about you is because we have this in common, is that so many people do it backwards. They build a brand because they know how to make content, and they get eyeballs and attention, and then they try to monetize the attention when they don't really have any real results or track record or shit that they've actually done outside of social media. I didn't start making content on social media until after I'd sold the business for $115 million. And so, like, I talk a lot of shit.
That's a lot of money, guys.
It's a lot of cheese.
You can do a lot with that.
And so I talk a lot of shit on Instagram in my own way because I hate these fakepreneurs on there talking about, coaching and offers and this and that and portraying this lifestyle around entrepreneurship that's just like, you're full of fucking shit. You've never done anything in your life. You got business coaches that have never built a business on there. You have real estate coaches that all they do is sell information on real estate.
Yeah.
I believe in coaching. I believe in mentorship and these things that were I'm a 15-year-old high school dropout. I still don't have a GED. Everything I learned was from good mentorship.
Trust me. You have a PhD.
But earned through the education of other people.
Okay.
And so I'm an advocate of the right people being coaches, mentors, and all of that. My only point is social media, most of them are a bunch of
scary
lames.
It's scary.
You know what I mean?
It's scary.
And it's not the guy with the realest track record and results that typically wins. It's the person with the flashiest, most intriguing content frequently. And doesn't necessarily mean they're the right person. Anyway, the Section 8 thing. So I ended up with all this money. The world was going to shit. I needed cash flow every month. I have a very expensive life. I got a fucking jet, a boat, multiple houses, 2 baby mamas. I got all sorts of shit going on. And you know what I mean?
I got one baby.
And so,
I got 2 baby mamas. I got 3 with one.
We're in the club.
And then I got 1 with one. I didn't marry the second one. So
you don't have to marry him to make him a baby mama.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it's not about how much money you have, it's about how much money you have coming in. And that was, I sat back and looked at all the opportunities. I hate the stock market. I'm not a big crypto fan. And I just looked and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? I like cash flowing businesses and I like real estate that cash flows. I've started businesses and I started investing in real estate. When I looked at real estate, I started running down and assessing all the different verticals. And I was like, all right, I love apartments, but these deals don't make sense.
Right.
And I like commercial too, but same thing. Like it's just the cost of capital at the time is too great.
Yep.
And then I stumbled upon Section 8 in that you could buy these houses for short money and get incredibly high rents for them, and that the government would back the rent. Mind you, I've been doing business with the government and the bureaucracy and the red tape and the regulation through healthcare for 15 years. So
Not easy.
Not easy, but so a lot of the paperwork, the regulation scares away a lot of landlords. Because landlord wants to sign a lease and send me my check. With them, you have to bill a third party. You have to have these inspections. You have to have all this compliance stuff. And And so, but it was not scary to me because my healthcare background, healthcare is the most regulated business.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
It's regulated, then it's regulated, then it's more regulated.
Regulated on top of regulated on top of regulated.
Yep.
And I saw that there was an actual cash on cash return, but the problem was deploying capital. I can go buy 500 apartments. If I could need 500 of these houses, I got to do 500 deals. I can do 500 apartments in one closing, one underwriting,
Yeah.
one deal. And so I started building a team around it, and I said, "Fuck it! I'm not only am I a real estate, entrepreneur, but I'm also an actual business operator. Let me build a team that automates this process a little bit, and start to put these things together." At the beginning, I was just doing it for me, and collecting these properties, placing high-paying Section 8 tenants in them, and creating my own cash flow for my own portfolio. And then it got the attention of other people, and then they wanted me to do it for them, and that was the birth of turnkey real estate business. And because they don't want to deal with it, right? They just want
A lot of people are scared to do it.
And they should be. Like all these, listen, there's a lot of people that teach Section 8 real estate out there with these courses that make it sound like you're going to fucking sit at home and on your phone, buy these houses.
It's not passive.
No, you're going to get your fucking dick kicked in out there, dude. Mm-hmm. Like, you know how many water heaters and furnaces I've had stolen out of these houses? And like the amount of shit that goes wrong every fucking day on them. And so we take that on the shoulders. We have a big, amazing team. We have an acquisitions team, construction operations, 35 to 40 approved vendors, contractors that we sub all the work out to. A leasing department that puts all the tenants in the properties and property management. And so it's a big operation. We create these properties and we let people actually invest passively. Not that it itself is passive. We just do the active work for them. And so that became a little business. And so we turn right now about 50, 60 units a month. Mm-hmm. And,
Do you guys have any idea what it is to turn 50, 60 units a month? It's a lot. And turn means turnover.
Yeah.
So
we buy, renovate, lease, and sell.
And you use the Section 8 voucher program.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Almost all the tenants are Section 8
it's
voucher.
it really works pretty well.
Yeah, totally. And then we manage them ongoing. And so, we got a big growing property management group, and it's been a fun business. Meet a lot of good people.
So have you started looking at any of the apartment deals that have come down in value?
I haven't even, no. The answer, long story short, no. I haven't spent any time on it in a while. I've been so busy with the real estate business takes up maybe 20-25% of my time. And then the rest of it is really the addiction treatment business. And a lot of that makes it onto social media because it's hard to make content about it. And, most of my life is boring. I spend 10 hours a day sitting in front of my laptop on Microsoft Teams, taking meetings and talking to people and doing whatever I'm doing. But so, my answer to a lot of opportunities right now, just because of the phase that we're in, has just been no. I haven't looked at real estate opportunities. I haven't looked at investing in anything. I haven't looked at other businesses. I'm just focused on these couple things, see them through fruition. The cost of opportunity is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, like you, I'm sure you see, 100 things a week that could distract you. And it's like if you spend your time chasing all these things around, you're not going to get anywhere. And so I've just done, really kind of made a commitment probably about a year ago to like turn off the noise and put my blinders on. I do a little bit of social media stuff that I do. I run these couple companies, and the rest of the time goes to my kids. And so there'll come a point where I'm back.
How old are your
investing.
kids?
13 and 3.
13 and 3.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a boy. I don't think the new wife we're gonna have any more kids.
Yeah. They're fun, man. But I actually wanted a girl this time. Maybe he'll grow up, the 3-year-old will go up and watch this and say, Dad, what the fuck were you talking about with Mark Shapiro back in 2025? I wasn't unhappy that I had a boy, but, I'd like to have a girl. And so at some point.
Trust me, they're harder than boys. They're,
I always think about that, and
Bro,
certainly,
bro, they're high maintenance, okay? I've had to get in touch with the feminine side, the Manny the Petty. I had to learn how to French braid. And then my baby, Isabella, who is a sophomore at UT, is like me. I'm an old gearhead. So she's a gearhead. And the other girls don't really care about what they drive. This one is so into freaking cars.
that's awesome, bro.
So, and if she does, she almost got it last semester. She wants a Urus, and she almost got it last semester, but she got 1B, and I told her, it's straight A's. So, and I don't think the car that she drives is a bad car anyways. It's a RS7. So it's a rocket ship. But, you know, I mean, I'm talking about it. I don't typically really show my lifestyle. I try not to because I wasn't raised like that. I was raised New England,
Yep.
you know, and people.
Hide what you got.
Yeah. And people, when you did well, they didn't like you, whether they knew you or not.
That's very true.
So, I mean, maybe Boston was a little easier.
I still have
area.
an apartment in Boston in Back Bay on Boylston, and I think it's still this. You know, it's different. It's funny. You drive around Miami, you see Lambo, Porsche, Ferrari, Rolls Royce, another Lambo. No one even looks, right? It's so normal to us. In Boston, and there's a lot of money in Boston. You will not see a supercar like that. Like if you see a Ferrari or something, it's like, whoa.
Even in Newton or Milton.
I don't get out that way. I mean, like downtown.
Downtown.
And so, like, I'm in Back Bay, Seaport, kind of that whole area.
That's a great area.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time. I spend summers there for the most part, between there and Europe.
It's nice in the summer.
It's the only time it's nice.
You know, it's nice in the summer. Plus, it's easy to get to the Cape.
Yeah. I typically end up going north because family and friends are in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And so
What's the beach in New Hampshire?
Oh, it sucks. Hampton Beach.
Hampton Beach.
Yeah, it's not a great place to be. But I'll go up to like the mountains, Lake Winnipesaukee.
I used to take the kids there. Lake Winnipesaukee. Yeah.
Lake Winnipesaukee is a good time.
Yeah. My brother went to camp in Lake Winnipesaukee when I was a little kid.
My son went there. I forget the name of the place, but he went to camp there last year. He'll probably go again this summer.
Yeah.
They get some good camps up there.
Yeah.
Good memories.
I
love that whole
look.
lakes.
I
mountains.
actually like New England. I just don't typically really like the mentality. But there's, you know, especially for us, for a long time, my biggest lender was Mass Mutual.
Yeah.
Because they are always a good fixed rate lender, non-recourse. They loved apartments. And it was as good as Fannie, but it wasn't as much red tape or borrowing from Fannie or Freddie with low floaters. But, and we know when you get a good lender, you just exhaust them until they won't lend you any more money.
Yeah.
So, and that was why we kept our corporate headquarters in Springfield, right up on Maple Street. And when the casino came in, we sold it. And then we moved it to Alton and 17th.
Oh, no shit. No.
Yeah. Above the Epicure, which is now a
What year was
development
that?
project. 2004.
Very cool.
Yeah. My first office was south of 5th.
Yep.
On Ocean and 3rd. Then I moved to Ocean and 2nd above the Big Pink. So the side street was where you go upstairs.
Yep.
That was before Miles had opened up the Big Pink. And we bought the note on the Mercury, that was just 100 Collins, in 95 from a guy named Rupert Goldstein. And we bought the note. It was the old Hotel Nemo. It had bums living in it. South of 5th was a mess. And we started just buying deals and cleaning them out.
What a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
I shot a few people back then.
Yep.
I used to carry a gun collecting rents. I think I did it because I thought I was tough.
Yep.
So, you know, you get your shit kicked out of you once in a while. And somebody tries to steal your, you get hit with a mace.
Yep.
Then you're like, I'm not collecting any more rent.
No.
So
Let someone else do that.
I stopped carrying a gun after I did that. I said, fuck, I'm going to actually hurt somebody.
Yep.
And I'm like, just take it, whatever you want. Take it all. Take it all. As my wife says, take it all. I take it all. Ducati. I don't know. It's some video she watches.
Yeah.
So, but you have a tremendously inspirational story.
Thank you.
And I don't think people get that from a lot of people, like you were saying, a lot of these guys. And there's a lot of guys in our space. And when I started doing this last April, I got pushed into it by not him, because he's taken over all of our social. We have what do we have, 7 people or 8 people on our social team? With,
I guess,
yeah,
Kate, Omar, myself, Chris, Adrian.
5, Angel,
Angel, and I guess
Evan.
if you include all the editors overseas, it's over 30 people.
Yeah, yeah.
It's over how many?
Like probably 25. Like we just like
Overseas editors.
We can't get shit done fast enough.
Yep.
And especially now since we started doing long form, which is,
pieces of content a month.
It's a lot of content.
yeah.
People
So-
don't realize how much work it is.
Bro, this is harder than real estate.
For sure.
It's like, and you got to be
People
up.
take it for granted. Like they see these people with personal brands and putting out content, and they don't understand how much work it is. And managing all those editors and creative types, and keeping them all moving in the right direction.
He's a 21-year-old kid, okay? In Yiddish, we
That's
call
what you
him
need.
Mensch. He's unbelievable. He runs all these guys, okay? So this weekend, you can cut this out, all right? This weekend, he tells me I can't go to L.A. And, by the way, we're going to be in L.A.
I'm not. I don't know why they still have me on the flyer.
No?
I told them a month ago that I'm not going to. No, I got a family thing up north I have to be
Okay.
at.
Because I was going to ask, I was
Came
going
up.
to show you what I was going to speak about, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't conflicting
Yeah,
with
I
what.
told him I don't. I like Albert. I've spoken at a couple of his things, but I had a family thing come up, and so I let him know I wasn't going to be able to make it, which I'm bummed about. It's going to be.
It's
a great
funny,
event.
when he first announced it, he's like, "Can I put you on the flyer?" I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Who do you have?" He said, "Me and my wife." And I said, "Okay." And he's like, "Oh, and a guy named Glenn Stern." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I watched him in Undercover Billionaire."
Yeah.
And now he's got all these people. I don't know if they're all going to be there, but
He does a good event. I spoke at his Driven event. Maybe that was 2 years ago. And
how
they
big
do a
is
good
how
job.
big are the audience?
This was like a different version of it, and so it was a little smaller, and there was maybe 600 or 700 people on that one. This one, when I was talking to him, he said he was trying to get 20,000 people into the Dodger Stadium, and I was like,
Really?
"Yeah."
That's
I was like,
crazy.
"I don't." That's a. I've spoken.
Well,
to
Grant
some-
can do that.
There's not a lot of guys that can.
No.
Right? Like I've spoken at some big events, arenas, and you think about how many arenas are. What, 12,000 people? A lot of them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So I don't know what he's got up his sleeve, but he's had the Driven event. He's had all the biggest names over the years. He's had Tony Robbins, and, my friend Andy Frisella, Ed Milet. So he's done a really good job with it.
When we did JT Fox's event, we then went to a Friendsgiving at Albert's office. I got to meet his father, which is a really important thing for me to actually, connect with people. And a bunch of people were, that I know were like, Albert's not a good guy, stay away from him. And I'm like, well, you know what? He's been nothing but a gentleman to me. And we've had some really personal conversations, and I really like him. And by you telling me that, I'm offended. And, they're like, well, then don't come and speak at my event. I said, then I won't. And, I don't understand why people are so freaking petty, and they're not man enough to realize when somebody's a decent guy,
It's just, social media influencer land is a lot of drama, a lot of gossip. I stay out of all of it. I try to, my best. Not easy, but it's just like, I try to, stick to, I don't like that stuff. You know what I mean? I just don't. And so, try to stick to positive mindset type of.
Well, you're a positive person, and why put out any negativity, okay? Because when you do, you're helping people, okay? When you were getting sober, and you got sober and you were going back and helping people, the more good things that you do, the more good things God's going to push your way.
100%.
And I don't think people even see how simple it is to hold a fucking door for somebody or smile at somebody or say good morning.
If you go back on my content, I actually talk about that type of stuff quite a bit, about like just being solid and being a good person, being stand up, honor, respect, loyalty, and then overall just having good manners, you know, and stuff like that. Like, excuse me, thank you, please.
Yeah.
Like how little that thing is, but how far it'll get you in life. You know what I mean? Like even prior to getting sober, man, I was in some really dangerous environments with some really dangerous people, and frequently. And just being respectful, minding your fucking business, not talking about other people, not getting your mouth to put you in a tough place, and having just basic core manners. I survived all of it, you know? Like
You
I can't tell you.
survived and
Yeah.
you excelled.
Totally, you know, and it's just all, you know, how you conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis, and your discipline, your habits, and your moral compass, your code, the principles by which you live, and all that stuff. Like it's so much more important than what people realize. And I try to talk about it, and it's not the most popular. It's not like a viral message on Instagram, right? Like,
No.
but it is fucking more important than people realize. It really is. And people spend so much time looking over here for the things they want out of life, when it's really hidden in the areas that they don't spend any time and attention to. You know? Like if you could build the person, for me, like I had the great opportunity of being addicted to heroin and getting my face kicked in by life that just beat me into such a state of surrender that I had to rebuild myself. And then from that point forward, like the recovery and a relationship with God and the personal development work that I was able to put together created these internal assets, everything that we're talking about, these principles, this moral compass, these manners. And the external success is nothing more than a reflection of the internal work that's happened over the years. And I think people get that fucked up a lot, where they think that they're going to get external success and it's going to change them internally, right? They'll feel different when they get these things. You talked about it earlier. I caught that. You said, you know, you'd enjoyed some success before you really leaned into your faith, but things were still a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the evidence that I try to talk about a lot. It's like, dude, go get fucking rich. I hope you get rich. I hope you get absolutely everything you ever wanted to get. And because for a lot of people, it's not until they get all of those things that they'll realize that those things are great, they're fun, but they're not what you think they are. You know what I mean? It's like once you had that success, sitting around going, I still have fucking problems. It's not about this. I won financially. I got the car, I got the house, I got the bank account, whatever it is. I can't fix my problem with this, though.
I was, at a certain point, the most successful that I was, and going through marriage counseling over and over again, and my wife wasn't going to change. And I was not even in the top 3 on her priority list. I was number 4. So kids, parents, friends, and then myself. And all I wanted was a wife and a family. And I had everything that I wanted monetarily, but I was a mess. I was an asshole. I thought my shit didn't stink, you know, and I came to this realization when I did file for divorce and I started to be a single dad, and she moved back to Connecticut. I had to buy a house in the same market so the kids would be in the same school district, so I would have them every other week. And all these things started to fall in place, and I started to realize that, you know what, you got to stop being such a fucking asshole. And then I got so much back into Judaism, and everything changed again. And I got way more conservative, less, I guess, flashy, and I learned how to French braid. I learned that Madison only likes turkey sandwiches with the Ruffles sour cream and cheddar potato chips on it, but with mayo. And then I have to cut the crust off. And then my daughters all hate 3 kinds of different peanut butter. And then Sarah doesn't like sweets. And then Maddie only likes certain kinds of sweets. And then Carly eats everything. And I would get up super early, do all my stuff, get them to school, then work out, and work a little bit, okay? Because I could go from Glastonbury to the Springfield office and work there. And then, and when I come here, I'd be able to go sit on the beach. I'd be able to get some sun. I'd be able to recharge, go to the office, obviously. And life really made things much better. Hey, Christian. This is the kid that started me doing everything. This is Eric.
What's up, man? Nice to meet you, too.
So, and without God, I don't think I would have made it through any challenges in my life.
Absolutely.
And here's the crazy thing. So I go to shul here south of 5th on Meridian, okay? Maybe the biggest real estate developer in well, I would say Steve Ross is probably the biggest real estate developer. George Perez is pretty big, but not to like Steve Ross's or Larry Silverstein's level, because Steve was George's bank back in the olden days. But there's a company called Crescent Heights. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're the biggest condo converters in the country, and right now they probably have 40 projects going up. They're building the project over here that used to be a 7-Eleven on 6th Street, and they put the money up for David Martin. It's like an oval building, and the gentleman's name is Russell Gilbert. Have you ever eaten at Poppy Steak?
Yeah, of course.
Well, that's his house above it. That's his building. That's a house.
Oh, shit.
That's where he lives. It looks like an office building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his house. Comes to my temple, wears Skechers. Mark, how you doing? What's going on? Do you buy those deals in Texas? He never forgets anything.
Yep.
He is always such a kind gentleman to everybody. And you learn from these guys. You see these guys. You watch how unbelievably sincere they are about their relationship with God.
Yep.
And it's insane. It's really insane. How are we doing time-wise?
55 minutes.
Good. How much more time do you have?
A little bit. Probably about 20 minutes. I got to hit the road. 4 o'clock call.
So I got a question. Favorite color car?
Black.
Black?
Yeah.
They're so hard to keep clean.
I know, but they look so good.
They do. They look good when they're clean. That's definitely.
My Lambo is white, which is cool, which was kind of like, I don't know that I've owned a car besides the color black in a long time, besides that. And but my buddy's dealership in Vegas had it, and it was a cool car, decent price, and so I had it shipped out here. But yeah, everything else I've had.
See, decent price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't buy anything unless I can get a decent price on it.
Yeah, man.
So
I got to reconcile it with my soul,
So I was telling you, so he can't come to L.A., so Chris is coming to L.A. So do you want to know why he can't go to L.A.? Because he's racing Ferraris.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm like, oh, really? Nice. Whose Ferraris? He goes, ours. So he starts working for us, okay? And just a soup. Huh?
He's skewing this. He does his own research.
No, I talked to your father and your grandfather.
Okay.
So
Didn't come out of my mouth.
yeah. So he.
Thought I got something going on with family. That's what I said.
Yes, you did, but then I talked to your dad. Actually, I think in Vegas I was talking to. Where were we coming back? You and I, Houston.
Houston.
Yeah, I was talking to your granddad, and we were talking about the Ferrari racing. So, and so, he comes one day, drives a Range Rover. Then the next day, he's driving an SV. Then the next day, he's driving another Rover. The next day, he's driving something else. I said, whose cars are these? He goes, my grandfather's a car guy. You know, just a humble kid. So it's like you never really know. So then I'm talking to his dad. What was it, last week?
Probably.
And he's like, you want to buy 1,300 units in Jersey with me? I'm like, yeah, let's look at the deal. So they do some substantial deals.
Very cool.
And here's the thing. When you are ready, there's a bunch of product from all these social media syndicators. And as you were saying, the rates move.